Hello friends, and welcome back to the Dork Side. I'm the Dork in the Road, and this is my test ride of the KTM 390 Adventure. I'm the Dork in the Road, and I want to be your internet riding buddy, so please consider subscribing. I'm here at Power Motorsports in Sublimity, Oregon, and they've been gracious enough to let me take this KTM 390 Adventure out for an extended test ride so I can make a video and share my thoughts with all of you. Check out Power's website. They're one of the biggest Kawasaki Yamaha dealers in the country, and they deliver anywhere. So cool that they're going to let me take this 390. This is a bike that I've really wanted to ride since it came out, since I first heard about it, and so it's great to get my hands on what might be one of the best beginner adventure bikes out there. We're going to get out on the road, we're going to get out on some dirt, a little bit of gravel, and have ourselves a hell of a time. So let's stop talking and start riding. I like the seat. First impressions, this seat is quite wide. It's pretty stiff. I imagine that'll break in some, but the width, it's comfortable. It's not narrow like a dual sport seat. A lot of support for your buttocks. As you can see, it has this beautiful color display, same display that's on the 890. You can adjust traction control on the ABS. It's got road and off-road ABS and just traction control on and off. It's got adjustable suspension. Seat height is good. It's not intimidating. So I have a 30-inch inseam and I've got the balls of both feet down. It's not as narrow in the middle as I thought it would be, but it's pretty narrow. It's pretty straight path to the ground for your feet. The bike feels very light, and I think my biggest first impression is that in my head this bike was a lot smaller. But in my head this was a small, like that KLX for some reason. But it's a full-size motorcycle. It's as big as my CB500F was, but it's not heavy. It's very light, very easy to tip comfortably. I would feel very comfortable taking this on, you know, crappy abandoned logging roads, places where I wasn't sure what the turnaround situation was going to be. Okay, so power-wise, ooh, yeah, completely unintimidating. Okay, as you might expect for an adventure bike that is marketed toward, created for, and seemingly designed specifically for newer riders, the power delivery is unintimidating, easy to handle, and it's so light. The slow speed stuff, the stuff that really intimidates newer riders, moving around parking lots and turning around, stuff like that, seems really easy. It lends itself to that really well. So this is a test ride first impressions video. It's not going to be like a super comprehensive review or overview, just because I don't have that much time with the bike, and so I really want to focus on the experience of riding it and what that feels like, so that those of you that might be considering it can get a little insight into what it's like to own and ride. My knees are bent pretty severely, so the pegs are pretty close, not pretty severely, but more so than I'm used to. The pegs are pretty close to the seat. Your knees are bent and tucked right up behind the tank, as you can see here. Flickability, oh my god, this thing is light. It just leans right over. If you have a short commute, even with some highway, maybe even a little freeway, and you want to ride around town, this would be a great bike for that. Can totally feel that. It would be fine. It's easy to handle, nimble, easy to maneuver in and out of traffic, easy to get your feet down and do anything that you might need to do. So very, very unintimidating bike from a company notorious for creating very powerful, intimidating bikes. So well done, KTM, knowing who you're designing this bike for and designing it to be comfortable to those people. If you're thinking of this as a first motorcycle, I think it's worth considering. I'd be happy recommending this to someone who's looking to get started with adventure riding or even street riding, but might want to do some light off-road stuff. My suspicion is that it's not going to be the most off-road capable bike. There's a couple reasons for that. I've read that the foot pegs are canted a little bit forward, and that makes it hard to stand up. We'll try that when we get off-road up here. I think this is probably a great bike for someone who is brand new, but I'm starting to feel like if you have some experience on or off-road, this is not going to be an upgrade for you. It's going to be a side grade at best, depending on what you're currently riding. So we're going to get some gravel in here. Yeah, it'll pull up the hill. It's definitely fun. Like, it's not boring. It's mellow, but not boring, if that makes sense. I think you really got to be really revving it out to squeeze a lot of performance out of it. In this off-road situation, soaking up the bumps and the variations in the terrain here on the gravel, it feels pretty stable. It's not squirrely or anything on the gravel. It's comfortable enough, definitely comfortable enough. Okay, I'm gonna try standing up. Okay, yeah. So this is the Achilles heel I've read of this bike, is that it's hard to stand up on. And that just makes me think it's not really designed to be a hardcore adventure bike. It is a very comfortable, very easy to ride street bike that you can take off-road if you want to, but you're probably going to be sitting down. I do not like this standing position at all. The bars are just low. I definitely want risers on a bike like this. Squeezing the tank with my knees is pretty easy. That's in a good spot. If you want to ride off-road, sometimes if you want to explore gravel roads and do all that sitting down, it's probably a great bike for that. If you want to ride it super hard, I just think you're going to be fighting this bike more than it's going to be helping you do what you're trying to do. I think you're going to be happier with it. There's a lot of different options out there. A true dual sport, for one, would be a lot better for off-road and have similar power. It's not going to be as comfortable on the road. So it's a balance. It's always a balance of what you want to do. In terms of off-road performance, this gravel road I think is ideal for it. Maybe something with a little bit more bumps, but you're not going to take it on trails, man. It's light enough that I would take it up and explore some back road type stuff, some abandoned logging road type stuff, some desert trails with maybe a little bit of rocky technical terrain. But I mean, just look at the design cues. This is a street bike that can go off-road, not an adventure bike that's going to be tearing up. Because look, it's got the cast wheels, you know, limited suspension travel. It's a great first bike, and it's a great bike for someone that was going to ride on the road 70% of the time, but occasionally wants to hit some gravel like this. I think that's a really good use for this bike. That's what it feels like to me. That's the impression I get riding it. So a little bit of the specs on this machine. The 390 Adventure is a 373cc single cylinder with 37.5 horsepower, 6.7 inches front suspension travel, 7 inches in the rear. It's got almost 8 inches of ground clearance. The seat height is an unintimidating 33.7 inches. It's got a 3.8 gallon tank, and the retail MSRP on this bike starts at $61.99. It's got traction control, off-road ABS, and cornering ABS. All of that tells me it's a great bike for a beginner rider or for a new rider. It's what we call an entry-level machine. I think it's a very cool looking bike. It's very refined. It has a lot of cool features. Having said all that about how it's not a great stand-up off-road motorcycle, it's really fun and really easy to rip around sitting down on this gravel. I just went down and turned around a bunch of times, rode through a little ditch and stuff, and it's really fun and seems very capable and confidence inspiring while you're seated. So again, it's that 70-30 type machine. You're not going to be afraid to hit up a gravel road that goes up to a campground or an overlook or something cool. You're just not going to want to get into anything crazy like trail riding or anything like that, but most people don't take adventure bikes on things like that anyway, so this bike is going to be very comfortable on the road and have a little bit of extra capability when you need it. We're going to get out, we're going to do an extended road test. I'm going to ride it down the highway and back, get a couple twisties in and see how it feels. I suspect it's going to be fantastic. Some thoughts after a little bit of an extended street ride. Corners amazingly. This is a street bike. It feels like a street bike. It leans into corners and you can drag me on this thing all day. It feels very street bikey. It honestly feels a little anemic to me. It's not exciting in the way that I expected it to be as a KTM, and you might be saying, well, yeah, it's a 400. Well, my DRZ is a 400 and it's very exciting. It's very powerful and very torquey, and this thing, unless it's just, it could be that it's just tuned to be very beginner friendly. It's a very unintimidating, very easy to ride motorcycle, and if it's your first bike, great bike. But I honestly think after a while, an experienced rider might be a little bored on this. It's definitely more of your entry level, more of your beginner friendly type machine with some trappings. Very capable on the highway. I was hitting 70, 75. You could cruise on the freeway on this thing. I don't know if you'd want to do it all day. It's pretty tapped out. Probably 75, 80 is going to be the highest cruising speed you're going to be able to maintain comfortably, but it will do it. It'll cruise at highway speeds, so that's impressive. It's capable of all that, so it's a decent all-around bike. And like I said, if you want to take it off-road, you can. You're just going to be sitting the whole time. It's not a very comfortable bike to stand up on unless you can adjust the foot pegs and get bars. You could do all that, but at that point, why'd you get this bike at all? You should have got something else. Yeah, I said all that about it being a streety bike, but I would not be this comfortable on a gravel road on a street bike. Not even on my old Versus, so it has some off-road chops. Sounds like I'm talking it. I'm really not. I think it's a great introductory bike. Get a lot of bike for the money. I think you're going to be pretty happy with it. Overall, fun, capable, unintimidating bike. Good for a new rider, but it doesn't feel super exciting. I think it's a great sort of 70-30, 80-20 bike. It's a bike for someone that wants to do a lot of road riding right around town, but also occasionally hit up a gravel road. But I would not consider it maybe a great bike for taking on trails or more difficult terrain, anything remotely technical, anything you have to stand up for. So anything you can ride comfortably sitting down, and that varies depending on who you are, is going to be fine. If you have to stand up, it's when you're going to run into trouble and maybe wish you had a different bike. I do feel like for experienced riders, it's going to be a little boring. Is not the right word, but you'll probably get tired of it quickly. You're going to want more. You're going to feel that. but still fun, capable, very capable on the street, great suspension, got lots of bells and whistles for the money. It's worth a look. Give it a test ride. That's what I always say. Once again, I just have to give a big shout out to Power Motorsports here in Sublimity. Come talk to my boy Matt and tell him Dork in the Road sent you. That's who you want to talk to. Matt is the man. But I'm going to give this thing back, and I just want to say thank you very much for watching, and please do not forget to be excellent to each other. Well, thank you. What's up, man?